Hello, I'm Mike Minnis from 2M Legal, and this is the Law According To podcast. My guest today is Bill Dhariwal of Lawcomm. Lawcomm is a multi-specialist law firm that Bill set up 23 years ago. In this episode, Bill tells us how he has focused on his career from a very young age, as well as sharing some excellent advice for new or junior lawyers. It's a great episode, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to see future episodes, why not like our page or maybe subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is the Law According To Bill Dhariwal. Hello and welcome to the Law According To. This is the monthly podcast where I talk to legal professionals about their career in law. And today I'm glad to be joined by Bill Dhariwal, the Managing Director of Lawcomm, a firm of solicitors in Whiteley, Hampshire. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, Mike. Hi. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
You're very welcome indeed. You're very welcome. Bill, as the intro tells us, we're going to go through your career to date. So I always find a good place to start is at the very beginning. So firstly, what drew you towards law? Why did you choose law as a career?
It's I think it's been a sort of personal motivation from family, really. I mean, my dad came to this country from East Africa with literally £5 in his pocket, and he wasn't educated. He had to leave school at 14, and it was always his ambition that I become a lawyer. He passed away when I was 13, so when he passed away, it just felt natural for me to fulfill his ambitions for me. So that's really why I did it.
I see. I bet it must be incredibly proud of you looking down you now. So it was, again, from a very young age, you had that drive to become a solicitor.
Yeah, I think I was luckily I've always naturally been interested in the law, and it's always something that yeah, it's drawn me. And I think my father, my parents probably subconsciously put things in there, like they took me to whenever they bought their first property. I remember being in the office with the solicitor, going through the title deeds, and even to this day I remember coming out and my dad saying, that big Mercedes, that's the solicitor's car. You want to be one of those when you grow up. Yeah, so it was very much from family motivation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, excellent. And so I know your firm obviously deals in various areas of law, but your main specialism, I believe, is litigation, your personal main specialism. What was it particularly that took you down that path?
I mean, commercial litigation is a fantastic area of law because it is challenging. You often have to deal with matters quite quickly. There's often a lot at stake. But I suppose the other thing is I could never really specialize, because as a commercial litigator, I'll be dealing with company commercial disputes, professional negligence, insolvency, employment, and I could never decide upon a particular niche area. So that's why commercial litigation just suited me, because it gave me that variety I wanted.
You enjoy that area of that variety that it gives you. So, looking at your kind of path into law, obviously you had that focus from the age of from a young age, but from 13
Yeah.
onwards. What challenges have you faced going through the last stages of your education and then coming into kind of training contract and things like that?
I think I mean, I qualify, or I was. I think the biggest challenge I had at the start of my career was actually getting a training contract.
Okay.
And it was in the early '90s recession. and firms were closing up training contracts, which was a big disappointment. I remember I went to Cardiff University and then the College of Law in Guildford. But I must have sent out around 200 applications,
Wow.
and I got one interview out of all of that effort, and it was with a firm in Southampton called Lamport Bassett. They were taken over by Pitmans some years ago. And I just remember, I had to really nail this interview. It was the only one I had. So I spent a great deal of time researching the firm. I knew the clients, I knew all of the partners, I knew an insane amount of information about them. So at interview, I felt quite confident. I felt quite relaxed about
Uh-huh.
it because I had my preparation had been really, really strong. And yes, I luckily enough, I think they interviewed around 30, 40 people, luckily for only two places, and luckily
Hmm.
I managed to get it. But even then, getting a training contract was really competitive. It was even worse in a recession. But yeah, I think that was a real challenge for me at that time.
Yeah, I guess the dedication is what showed them that you were the right candidate. But I suppose for context, for people who maybe of a younger generation, 200 applications, obviously in the 90s, wasn't the same as 200 applications nowadays, where you're doing it in front of a laptop and taking maybe
Yeah,
an hour or so. These are
yeah,
physical
yeah,
applications they
yeah.
have to write, print, send, maybe
Yeah,
even drop off.
absolutely. I know a lot of firms have their own application forms now, or they have psychometric testing or whatever. But I mean, back in the day, it was literally personalized covering letter and your CV and
Yeah.
sending it out on some good quality paper. But yeah, no, and it's I think it's still challenging getting the right opportunities even now.
Hmm.
But I think you've got to be determined. You've got to have a lot of faith in your abilities. But when you do get that opportunity, you've really got to nail it. We have that here where we hold interviews, and I still recall how well prepared I was for that one interview I had for a trading contract. And sometimes when we interview candidates and they their preparation isn't what I would expect it to be often.
Yeah. Yeah, not at the same sort of level. I
Yeah.
suppose that's a difficult um, thing to match, though. Really, when your preparation was so thorough, I suppose it's difficult for them to get to that level.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
suppose so.
absolutely. Yeah, it's it needs to be done, doesn't it? Okay, so you've now been running law comms for just over 23 years, or 23 years this year.
Yeah.
I imagine there's been many successes, but what are the real standouts for you during your career to date?
Well, I mean, I suppose it was quite a. I was in a really good position at Lamport Bassett. I was, it was a great firm. I was doing well, and I was only 27 when I set up Lawcom, and I'd say the formation of the firm was a huge achievement for me, and establishing it as a full service law firm. So getting other areas of law as well as commercial. I mean, the law com, the two M's is for commercial, but then it's
Mhm.
also for communication as well, because we really wanted to add private client work in there. And adding other service levels, property, private client, family, um, to it, and creating a full service law firm from nothing. Been really, really satisfying. And yeah, I remember, I was 27. I set up Lawcom in the same year I got married, and in the same year I bought my first house. So it was a hell of a year for me. But I've
Absolutely.
never looked back, and it's been there's been countless ups, loads of downs as well. Um, and anyone who's in business on their own account will know, you get the upside and the downside. But another satisfying part of having my own firm, as well as doing some really good work for clients. We've had some great litigation successes in High Court, Court of Appeal. We've had a lot of commercial client successes who've bought and sold companies or bought and sold real estate. But really just looking after our, just our normal small business clients, our individual clients who've been with us for, over a number of years, is really satisfying. I mean, even now, in terms of tracking who our clients are, and where they come from, our existing clients, those clients who've used us before, they're the ones who keep coming back to us. Statistically, they're the ones who, and that's really satisfying from a business owner's point of view, because it shows that the culture in the firm is about really looking after them, and that's what we really try and do. Another big success in the firm, I think, is the development of lawyers. So we do recruit from a graduate intake, and it's very satisfying actually seeing a lot of young lawyers come through, learn, develop, and really get the key skills that are needed to survive in a legal career.
Yeah, excellent. And that leads quite nicely into my next question, really, which is from that graduate lawyer, the trainee point of view, what advice would you give to those people, whether they're joining yourself or whether they're joining other firms at that stage in their career? What advice would you give to them that maybe you wish that perhaps you had that when you were at that stage of your career?
Yeah, I think again it's twofold. When what I like to see in young people who are interested in law or who are even joining our firm, I really want to see a lot of enthusiasm about the law, and a willingness to learn the law from a number of different sources. So people often come here, but beforehand they may have gone to court off their own accord to go and see a case, or gone to an employment tribunal to see a public hearing. They may have got a mentor, or they may just be interested in reading the Times law supplements or the law reports or other things. I mean, that's what I used to do. I used to make sure that I used to shows what an anorak I used to be. But I used to, cut out the Times supplement every Wednesday and keep it in a lever arch file, and just to make sure that I was, just on top of things. And things have moved on since then, because you can get, a lot of stuff on the internet, and there's a lot of research tools. But really looking at being enthusiastic about the law and learning it from a number of different sources, really is a vital skill. And secondly, I would say to young lawyers is they've got to be patient. They've got to be patient, because we work with a lot of young lawyers who want things really quickly. They want the client contact quickly. They want the successes quickly. They want the accolades quickly. But actually, realistically, it takes around 5 years to really get key skills, get the judgment that clients want you to have, so they have a lot of confidence in you. So, in those early years, learn a lot, observe a lot, be enthusiastic, but be very patient, because it will come, but it just needs a little bit of patience until you get there, I think.
Yeah, it's a difficult skill, isn't it, to teach somebody that obviously has grown up in a generation whereby you've had no need for patience. Basically, it's a here and now.
Yeah.
Very accessible to everything, really, and everything you want. I kind of with my children, I think back to the days where I had to wait 15 minutes for a game to load on my ZX81, and
Yeah.
and now it's
Or,
instant. You don't even have to go to the shop to buy it. You literally download it onto your Xbox.
yeah,
Incredible.
yeah. Or there are only four channels of television to watch.
Yes.
It's sort of, yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's incredible. Yeah, no, I mean, we are the what now generation, but
Mm.
actually, law is complex. Law, as well as learning the law, it's about knowing how to deal with clients, knowing how to deal with judges, knowing how to deal with opposition, knowing how to work with regulators. And it just takes it's an accumulation of that learning. It takes time to get that judgment, and that's really something which just needs somebody to get their head down, really learn from somebody decent, and it'll come. It will happen.
Yeah. And it's the people skills, I think, as well, isn't it, that you learn from working with more experienced people, how they
Yeah.
deal with situations, how they deal with. Sometimes I imagine you come across some very challenging situations, whether it be a challenging situation with people personally, or in a challenging case. But it's how you deal with that, and sometimes that can be the key to how things progress, amicably.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's all experience, and yes, the hard skills, and it is the soft skills. It's it's the listening, it's the negotiation, it's the talking, and it's the different types of communication. And you only, yeah, I think they do try and teach those things at the College of Law now, but I think you kind of, if I look back when I was training, whatever I've learned is from observing some really good lawyers in the past, and
Yeah.
that's really precious experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. Really good advice. Excellent. Okay, so Bill, if somebody wants to get in contact with Lawcomm about the services that you provide, how can they do that?
Yeah, I mean, we're our main office is in Whiteley in Hampshire. We've also got an office in London. Um, we are predominantly a property and business law firm, so a lot of our work is either commercial property or residential property. Do a lot of work with first-time buyers of new build and shared ownership properties. I deal with commercial litigation, but we have a family law department, private client, and general litigation as well. So yes, I mean, we've got a website, and all of our contact details are on that website.
Fantastic. So we'll redirect them to your website, and if it's okay with yourself, we'll pop a link in the comments below this video as well. Excellent. Well, Bill, I appreciate your time. Your story is excellent, and your insights and your advice towards the end there will be very, very useful to the people coming through and training and developing in their career in law. That's much appreciated. Thanks very much.
Mike, thank you for having me. Thank you very much.